Okay, this video is for us to get through our first lab and to help introduce Vernier Graphical Analysis. If you do not have Vernier Graphical Analysis on your Chromebook, in one of the corners you should have a circle that looks like this, but mine doesn't do the same because I don't have a Chromebook. If you click on that, there should be something that says Web Store. And if you don't find Web Store, there'll be a search in there, search Web Store, click on that Web Store, and then I need you to search for Vernier Graphical Analysis, and it'll look like this. And if it doesn't show up, make sure you click on the apps, and it normally comes up just by typing in Vernier. And make sure you get the graphical analysis. Once you have it up, it'll look like this. For starters, we are going to be doing the manual entry. With the manual entry, it'll look like this. And up here are displays. You can do just the graph, or in the future, we'll be doing 2 graphs or 3 graphs, or you can have just the data table. Maybe if you're putting in a lot of data, but for the most of the time, we are going to be doing data sets. So the graph and the data will be the same. Okay. For starters, up here, if you click on it, you can do a save as, and you are going to save it in your Google. It will be an option. I'm sorry, I don't have that. But what I'm going to save this is as YouTube sample, and make sure it has graphical analysis or .ambl. I think on the Chromebooks, it'll put in that .ambl. Make sure that .ambl is there. And when you click it, it'll rename it. This does not auto-save, so you are going to have to go in and save it every now and then. Okay, so let's just say that you are starting off and you want to get to where something that you've already been to. A lot of times, if you go to something that you have saved, it'll pick the program and open it. This is backwards on the Chromebook. You need to open your graphical analysis, go into manual entry, go up here, and then go to open. And after you've opened it, you can click on YouTube sample and open it. And you're not going to name it YouTube sample. Okay, so here's our data set. And we have our x-axis and we have our y-axis. So our x-axis, we're going to click on column options, and we are going to name that time, because most of the time our x is going to be time in seconds, and we're going to apply that. And if you notice, the label comes down here, and we're going to click over here on our column options for our y and go to column options, and that is going to be position most of the time, and that is going to be in centimeters a lot of the times, and click on apply. So we are close to having a good graph. We have our y-axis labeled or our dependent. We have our x-axis or our independent, but we do not have a title. So if we come down here and click on this and go to edit graph options, here's where we add the title. And our first lab is going to be buggy because we're using a buggy, and it is going to be a position time graph. And I'm going to make it capitalized. Sorry. And it's still not right, but it's going to do. And as soon as you click out of it, it has it up there. Okay. So I'm going to enter some data, and I'm going to enter 0, and I'm going to hit tab to go to the next one, and it started at 0, tab, and then we did 3 seconds, and I'm going to do 6:30, a nice simple graph here, 45, and I'll even do 12 at 60. Okay. So it has the dots put in for us. Now there's 2 ways to put your second line in. One way is to go up here and add new data set, And if you do that, we have a brand new data set up there. Okay, and I'm going to show you both ways. So you can go up here and let's rename these, because that first one we're going to call base, because in the lab that we did, we called it base. And the second one that we did, we're going to rename, and we're going to call that variation. Okay. And I'm going to throw in some data for that. At 0, it started at 10. And then I don't get to hit tab on this one. So I'm going to have to click back and forth. After 3 seconds, it was at 15. After 6 seconds, it was at 20. And 9 seconds, it was at 25. And at 12 seconds, it was at 30. Okay. Now, if you take a look at this, it's different. So because it's different, we only have one line. It only has the variation. So if you are ever missing something, if you click over here on the y-axis or the dependent, you can click on that. And we have 2 data sets. And if it's green, it's on. And if it's gray, it's off. So we're going to turn them both on. And now you can see they're both there. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn off the variation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and show you another way of doing it. And instead of having this be position, I'm going to rename that position. I'm going to name that base. And I'm going to apply. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a manual column. And this is going to be my variation. And I'm going to click apply. Now, instead of this being base, I'm going to rename that to just buggy, just for some reason. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you, if you go up here and click on table, now we have 1 data set, 2 data sets. Now, I'm going to go in because I want to use this time. Let's say I didn't make that second data set. I only had 1, and I'm going to put that second data set in there. And I'm going to put 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to graph and table. Okay. So we still only have 1 line. So let's go up here to our dependent or our y-axis. We're going to click on that, and we are going to turn our variation on. Okay. So if we take a look at it, I didn't label that in centimeters. I should have. Our base is in red, and our variation is in blue. Now, sometimes things don't look right. So if you come down here and click on Edit Graph Options, this is where we put our title in. This is where you change your x-axis range. So my left is 0 and my right is 12. Now my y-axis is a -6 and my top is 66. Oh, now I see why. Because I go up to 60, which is a little bit high, but hey, I don't like that negative there, and I'm going to say I want it to start at 0. Okay. Now, as soon as I do that, it makes this be 0, 0. Now, in order to extrapolate the data from that, if we click on Graph Tools and apply Curve Fit, and we want it to be linear because we think it's linear, we are going to click Apply. Now, what this has done for us is it has given us in a y equals mx plus b, y is equal to the slope times x plus the y-intercept. Okay, so our red line, which is our base, it is telling us our slope is 5. So if we do some quick math, every 3 seconds, okay, every time it went up 15, it went over 3. So our rise over our run, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And our b, or our y-intercept, is 0. It crosses the y-intercept at 0, and that tells us that it started at 0. If we take a look at our variation, it is telling us that our m, or our slope, is 1.66. Well, let's take a look at that. So for every 3 seconds, it went from 10 to 15. So it went up 5. So 5 divided by 3 is 1.66. So its slope is 1.66. And its y-intercept is 10 because it started at 10. Now our label on our slope is going to be our rise, which is centimeters, over our run, which is seconds. So on our base, it would be 5 centimeters per second. And on our variation, it would be 1.7 centimeters per second. Okay. So there are 2 places to go if things aren't going well. One is click on our label over here on our Y or our dependent. And you can turn things on and you can turn things off. The other one is to come down here on Graph Tools and edit Graph Options. Okay. And it is going to do what it thinks it should be. Okay. One thing that I didn't point out is that if you go to Graph Options, you can say, I want to see the line. Now here's the deal. When you turn stuff in for us, or for me, I want to see the extrapolation. So I want to see, make sure you have Apply Fit, Linear Apply, and it will give you that right there. Okay. So those are the 2 places. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, have a great day.